Zavok does not make sense anymore. I wanted to talk about this because I've been thinking about it since he was revealed for Team Sonic Racing earlier today, along with Eggman and Metal Sonic, and there are just a lot of things that are in my head right now about Zavok specifically that I wanted to talk about. Such as, I don't believe that he's a good villain, and I feel like he's hardly even a character. And I think part of that reasoning might be because he's not memorable in the slightest. So, like, if we look at some other villains from the series, like Chaos, right? He gets introduced at the very beginning of the game. He's very threatening because you have the whole Chaos Emerald absorption thing. Every time he gets one, he gets bigger, he gets stronger, and he's a threat. You know, he's a very real threat because they're like 7 emeralds and you're toast. Then, you get to the point where he betrays Eggman, and you go, wow, that's not something I saw coming. I thought Eggman was going to control him the whole time, whoa. And then, at the very end of the game, there's like an impactful resolution to that, where you learn that Chaos isn't evil, he was just really, really upset. And then it's resolved, because Tikal comes in, the Chow kind of purify Chaos again, and then they go off back to the afterlife, and you go, oh, that's so sweet, I wish real life would work like that. And then there's, like, Dark Gaia from Unleashed, so that, again, is a looming threat over you the entire time. You're always reminded of his influence over the world because of the monsters and the people you need to save with the stupid little camera thing, and the werehog, and the boss fights. And again, at the very end of the game, Chip sacrifices his friendship with Sonic to say, okay, I'm sealing Dark Gaia, thing's over, the threat will come again in 1,000 years, whatever. That was pretty cool. Then there's Metal Sonic, who is in Team Sonic Racing and deserves to be there in my opinion, because he's always popping up throughout the series, he's always been a threat. He's a fun character because he's the total, like, antithesis to Sonic, and he's always like, I'm the real Sonic, and he's trying to prove it, and he always feels like he's never gonna give up, which is cool. That makes him a strong villain, in my opinion. And then we have Zavok, who in Lost World basically just sits in a dark room for the entire game and bosses people around, not even, like, in a fun way. And then at the end of the game, like, it's not like he really has done anything. Like, sure, they take command of Eggman's badniks. Oh yeah, a bunch of snails rolling across the ground are really scary, right? They try to turn Tails into a robot, which doesn't work. You know, he taunts Sonic directly once or twice, and then once you beat him the final time, where does he go? Like, all the Zeddy for that matter, like, they just kind of vanish. The game kind of forgets they were there in the first place to kind of hammer in that twist final boss, Dr. Robotnik. When I first played this game, I literally thought Sonic killed these guys because the game just forgot about them. Like, I was like, this is pretty heavy for a Sonic game, because where did they go? Like, they live here, they just crawl back to a cave somewhere? Like, I don't, like, should I be worried? Should I call the police? Like, if the game where they originated from doesn't even care what happened to them in the end, then why should we care about what happened to them? Or where they go in the future? And if you've been watching my Bowser's Inside Story streams, you might call me a bit of a hypocrite or something, because I have frequently said Bowser is a really good villain, and I think we all know that Zavok is very Bowser-esque. Like, they're very similar in build, they both try to set you on fire, they got the long spiky tails, they wear the same wristbands. Oh, and then there's the small issue of this giant similarity between the two. So, what makes me think that Bowser is a good villain and Zavok isn't? I mean, much like Zavok, Bowser is just this giant hulking monstrosity that Mario is supposed to get by, right? In most games, he doesn't have very much character, he doesn't do very much other than spit fire at you and just expect you to die. But the thing is, Bowser has had more time to grow his character in other things that Zavok hasn't. Like, if you look at Paper Mario or Mario & Luigi, like I was just talking about, Bowser's Inside Story, you get to see the real Bowser there. Like, you get to see him do so many things. Like, it's an absolute pleasure to watch this goofball do things for the entirety of Bowser's Inside Story. Like, you get in there, you really get to see what makes him tick, like, literally. Sometimes a little too literally. But, like, you see his interactions with the bros, you see his interactions with Peach, and Kerfuffle, and his minions, and you see how he handles stressful situations, you just see how he does things, like, and you get to know him better, and it's cool, because you go, oh wow, if I didn't play this game, I would just think Bowser's stupid. Or, you know, you would just see Bowser as an obstacle. But you have these other games that you can play, and you can say, oh wow, Bowser's a real character. He's not actually just a cardboard cutout of a turtle standing on a bridge. And that's pretty cool in my opinion. And I think that's what makes him such a good character, because he has a character. But in Sonic Lost World, you don't get anything out of Zavok. Like, he hardly emotes, he spends the entire game just sitting around waiting for things to happen, and then he dies. In Forces, he comes back, and you have one scene where he helps beat the hell out of Sonic, and then you beat the hell out of him, and then he dies again. Like, I don't think we've had enough games to really build up Zavok as a real character. And I think part of the problem with that is how he was kind of conceived for Lost World, because he wasn't conceived as Zavok, the terrible turtle ripoff. He was conceived as part of the Deadly Six. Yeah, so my main issue with this is the Deadly Six. Count them, there's 6 of them. That's the whole point. So let's do an experiment real quick, okay? I'll flash the Zeddy on screen, and you tell me their one characteristic that they have, okay? Go. Zaz, he's crazy. Zomam, he's fat. Zik, he's evil Yoda. Xena, she's a girl. Zor, he's depressed. Zavok, he's the leader. If you take his 5 subordinates away, then what is he? He's nothing. If the one thing he has to his name is that he's the leader of a team, and he's not even the leader of this new little racing posse, then why is he even here? Not to mention that if this is the real Zavok this time, and not a Phantom Ruby clone, why would he be racing alongside Dr. Eggman? Like, the Zeddy wanted to wring this man's throat in Lost World. I don't know if Mario Kart logic can really apply here, because I'm pretty sure the game has a story mode, right? I guess if it's non-canon or whatever, it doesn't really matter, but like, it's just weird to me that he's just, oh yes, I'll race with you, good sir. Like, the Deadly Six worked in Lost World because together they basically made up one functioning antagonistic force. If you mashed all of them together, their personalities would probably fill out one somewhat memorable villain, but each of them on their own don't count for much. They're all incredibly forgettable. Like, if the only thing I can remember about Xena is that she said call me when you beat her, like, that's a huge issue. Like, on the flip side, I don't even remember what Zavok does when you beat him. Like, with all this on my mind, like, I can't even think to myself that Zavok is actually a character on his own. Like, if Zavok was the only antagonist in Lost World aside from Eggman, the game would have been even duller than it already was. So my question is, why is it that Zavok can be considered a character by Sonic Team if he needs 5 crutches to lean on, and they're not even in the game? Like, the fact that they're throwing him into TSR without the driving force, pun entirely intended, behind his non-existent personality doesn't make a lick of sense to me. They threw Zavok into Forces because it was an anniversary game, sure. I'm still bitter that they clickbaited us for the most part by showing us Chaos and Shadow and not doing anything with them, but Zavok was there, he got a boss fight, big whoop. He's gone, he was a Phantom Ruby illusion, whatever, but imagine this. The next Mario game, right? Nintendo throws Ludwig into the role of secondary antagonist with no explanation as to why he's alone or where the other Koopalings are. Just, that's it. Only Ludwig. And then, afterwards, they continue to give Ludwig special treatment in all future games and spin-offs over the other Koopalings for literally no reason. That's what this is. This makes about as much sense as Sega doing this. The Koopalings and the Deadly Six are very, very similar. Like, they don't really have personalities, but I guess they're trying to flesh them out a little bit more in the Mario RPGs now, because they have the secondary modes in the 2 new remakes, and I guess they were in Paper Jam a little bit, but I still didn't get too much from them other than, like, it's very similar. Like Morton's the dumb one, and Ludwig is the smart one, and Roy's the cool one, and Wendy's the girl one, and I mean, I haven't seen too much of the Bowser's Inside Story, Bowser Jr.'s journey yet, but maybe that'll improve. But again, like, it wouldn't make sense for Nintendo to do that, right? So, Sega? I mean, Sega does what Nintendo don't, I guess. I mean, I don't know. In my opinion, Zavok is not a character. Zavok is just a large 3D model they had laying around from Forces that they shoved into a playable spot because they needed a power type for Eggman's team. And it kind of doesn't make sense to me. And you know what, I'm just realizing that Infinite kind of went the same way as the Deadly Six, so maybe we'll see Infinite randomly appear somewhere down the line where he doesn't belong to. Only time will tell.